Oh, almost.
6:30. Hi, Kristen. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order, and we will do our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I'm actually going to make a change to the agenda and have, I'm going to actually start with public access right off the bat. Do we have anybody here for public access?
That's you guys, public access.
The floor is yours, gentlemen. Can you just introduce yourselves for us?
Hi, my name is Will
You
Pan.
can come right up if you
Go
want.
ahead, go.
Come right up and talk to us. Only Mary bites, so just stay either there or stay here.
I ate dinner.
Hi, my name is Will Panic. Hi, my name is Jack Carter. Today we are here to talk about Project O, the field trip. The first thing I want to talk about is the main reason why I'm so upset is because my brother went a few years ago and he told me how fun it was. The main reason why I'm upset that we're not going is because I really wanted to learn about the ocean and how it all works and learn about sea animals. And I just was thinking about how much fun it would be to stay overnight with my friends and just hanging out with them, talking, and then learning about Project O. No offense, but the new field trip I don't think is going to be as fun to stay at the junior high until 10 at night. I agree with him because like I don't know what we're really going to do when we're there, but yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say.
Well, first, can I just tell you guys, thank you very, very much. I think that it's amazing that you're actually coming, and I'm certain that you're representative of a lot of the sixth graders right now. I know with certainty that they're disappointed in that, and I can tell you we're continually looking, and I'll let them speak to you, but I just want to thank you. The two of you are extremely well-spoken and polished and put together and ready to speak to adults, so thank you for coming forward and doing that. It's an important thing, and you should be commended for bringing this forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to do it?
I'll start.
Sure.
Yeah. So definitely, I just want to restate what Mrs. Alexander said. Excellent job. I'm very proud. So just a couple of things. We're going to continue at Project O. I think you're actually thinking about the ecology school trip is what you're talking about. That's the overnight experience. That's okay. That's okay. So we are going to continue with the Project O Mystic Aquarium trip, which, Jack, that sort of speaks to your desire. So that's the trip where we go to the aquarium, but go out on a boat and actually have a really good, oceanography type of lesson and experience. So that continues. To go back to the new field trip, that's just one of a couple of things that we're considering. So it's called Warrior Welcome. It's going to be on May 15th, a Friday night. We'll take you from here to the senior high. Lots of activities, dancing, socializing, but most importantly, an opportunity to get to meet the other Union 61 students, because when you go to the junior high, you make up 50% of the class that's going into 7th grade, but there are the other 4 elementary schools that come. And if I'm remembering correctly, a big part of the joining of the 2 schools at the Ferry Beach or Borndale ecology school trip was to have an opportunity for you to meet the students from the other Union 61 schools. And that really has never happened. It's never really materialized, at least in the time that I've been here. So it's a nice, Warrior Welcome is an opportunity for you to truly to meet those other children, get comfortable with each other, make new friends and those type of things. So that's something we were planning on doing on the side anyway. We are going to go to Project O at Mystic Aquarium June 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And Mr. Jones, who happens to be sitting behind you, has been working really, really hard to find another fun educational experience. It would be a day experience. There's lots of concerns about the overnight trips at the 6th grade level, but we have been looking at many many options. So I'm going to ask Mr. Jones if he wouldn't mind to just give you sort of a quick update as to what we've looked at, okay?
Boys, you can sit again
Yeah,
if you are
yeah,
more
thank
comfortable,
you.
just to be comfortable.
Yeah, so I've been looking at a couple different places. The theme that is kind of consistent is aerial park. If you're familiar with those, you tend to be suspended up. You have harnesses, and there are different obstacles that you have to try to navigate while you're high up in the air. And a lot of them require teamwork and different things, so you and your friends will be able to communicate, help each other through some tough little stretches. So that's something we're definitely looking at. There are a couple different choices. There's one. There are two in Connecticut, one in South Windsor called Nomads, that is also connected to an entertainment center. So that could be something down the line if it's almost split half and half between the aerial park, and then maybe they have games and they have climbing walls and they have mini golf and things. There's another place called the Adventureland at Stores. It's another aerial park. There's one called Jiminy Peak, if anybody's ever been there, in a town called Hancock, that has a couple different activities. We're still trying to figure out what would be possible in a given day. And the one that's been received a lot of positive remarks is the Beckett YMCA runs something called the Beckett Chimney. That's a really long name.
Yes, yeah.
But basically, it's an aerial course. But beyond that, they have all kinds of different things. They also have hiking trails. They have archery. They have a focus on social emotional learning and leadership. So you'd have the opportunity to do different games where you kind of have to work as in small groups to achieve a goal. And that has just a lot of other little things that you can kind of pick and choose what you want to do. So that's what we've been probably leaning towards, the Beckett YMCA. I have some information right here if anybody wants to look through it. Their website's a little tough, but lots of pictures and information. So you guys are welcome to look through this too if you want before you go. But they have a lot of different activities that might be appealing to you guys. So I hope that you, I know you're a little bit disappointed, but some of the other things we're considering are really promising. I think you'll be surprised by how fun they can be.
Mr. Jones and one of the other sixth grade teachers will be going out on a field trip within the next week or so to actually visit some of the places that we're considering so they can actually see it in motion, all right?
Have you considered allowing student input on those? Is there a way you could do that?
We could. Once we've narrowed it down, we know all of the cost and all of the other pieces, that would be fine.
I'd recommend that. While we're on public access and on this, I never anticipated, and I'm seeing it now through my sixth graders' eyes now that it's coming on, now that that time and that anticipation, and I think what they're also missing, which we kind of know, is that anticipation of getting on the bus the next morning, going off, finding out who your roommate is, going away. It's not just like sleeping over at a friend's house because you're away from all the adults that you know, and building that confidence of staying away and doing the lessons that are there in the dynamic that your first taste of kind of like freedom without the adults there. And I, for one, underestimated the disappointment that I obviously have a sixth grader in their class, not in their classroom, but I have a sixth grader, and I have heard a lot more than I expected to hear, that they're disappointed, and it's more than just the social piece of it. It's that whole maturation of, I'm going to get on the bus, I'm going to go for a few days, and the lessons, because they got to hear so much about doing the tidal pool types of things. So I also wanted to ask, because of course I see on Facebook, Quabog went back to Ferry Beach this year. I thought that Ferry Beach was...
It's not at Ferry Beach. It's actually the ecology school, and I think that they're renting space from Poland Springs. They're at a conference center. Is actually where they're being housed.
The way that the Quabog School District had a big post on it yesterday on Facebook, and I'm just following
Yep,
the school
that's great.
district's
Yep.
post, and it just said their sixth grade Ferry Beach ecology trip. So I'm not sure if you've heard from other people about it, but I was like, oh wait, I thought that was
So they're
kind of kaput.
keeping in mind, so the experience that was in the past, which was on the coast in Succo, Maine, is actually no longer where the facility is located, where Dylan and Sam had gone in the past. It's actually, they've got a proposed site that they're building on that wasn't ready for this year, and that what they did was they offered the Poland Springs Conference Center, and the feedback that we had received from people who had been there was not positive as far as the housing arrangements.
is there any way to put this, and I know I'm putting you on the spot, but if you hear back from Quabog that this was good, is there any way to throw it back in the mix for the spring? I mean,
I think that the
Or is it just
location,
down and out?
I think the location was one factor, but we spent a lot of time talking
Yeah, I
about
know.
the fundraising, the children who were stopping to go, who were
Right.
just not interested. So there were multiple factors.
Okay.
And I would also like to thank you,
I know
Liz,
you
for
put
coming
a lot of work into.
today. You did just a great job, and coming to share your ideas and your thoughts in a public forum is really important. So I hope you continue to do that as you get older.
Yes, well.
Excuse me, sorry. But didn't we go to our neighbors and ask for money to go on this field trip?
So for all sorts of things, for not necessarily just for that field trip, it's for all of the experiences that happen in sixth grade. So it's a combination of Project O and Mystic Aquarium. It's the end of the year celebration that we do. So all of that money. So if you've fundraised, you will have money going from your accounts towards the cost, and you won't incur any additional cost if the cost of what we're doing exceeds a certain amount of money. But we also did the 5K race last year that raised a considerable amount of money to sort of defray the cost or reduce the cost of the overall trips, all of the trips, because it's all under one.
That sounds awesome, the Beckett thing. I did my first aerial course. It's kind of terrifying, you guys. But any other public access for Public Access 1? No? You're welcome to stay for the rest, but it goes, you know. We're not offended. Thank you both very much.
Bye,
Thank you.
Bye,
Good
Jack.
job.
See you tomorrow. Great job.
Very good job. It's a lot of guts to come in here, without a doubt. Okay, we are on the approval of minutes. Anybody want to make a motion to approve the minutes from September 5th?
So moved.
And a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor? All right, financial report.
Alrighty, so thank you. You can see we're doing our best, and I think special ed, some of the placement money might not be 100% encumbered, still working on that, but by and large, fully updated September, end of September budget for you. I would ask that you make a motion, please, to accept the transfers. They are attached here. There is a list of them, most of them related to the collective bargaining that happened. As you know, it was in one line, so we're moving that out. And we are also looking at special ed teachers' salaries, a change to a budgeted amount, and then just the ed assistant. But you can see at the bottom, the net impact, once we move things to where they need to be, is 0 to the budget.
So I would present the motion, entertain a motion to approve the transfers to reflect appropriate starting balances to salary lines as presented.
So moved.
And second, Dave, any second? Any questions on it? Okay, all in favor? Okay.
Thank you. And then just one other note here, and this is something that I think we're pretty comfortable being able to cover this year, but as we start budgeting for next year, to realize that for the first time in a number of years, there is a shortfall in the Title I funding. We have actually been conservative every year and building in a little bit of a reduction, but this year was a little bit of a surprise in the lack of funds that Burgess received. So that might be something when we get to next year's budget, we're gonna offset, we're gonna reduce that amount, but we would offset typically salaries by just a little bit. Nothing to really worry about.
Okay, questions on the financial report? No. All right, communications?
I don't think we have any of this one.
No. And the principal's report.
So enrollment remains steady at nearly 900 students. I want to just recognize Christina Simpson and the entire volunteer team for the Burgess 5K. The course is definitely challenging and keeps some people away, but we did, it was, I don't know the exact numbers. Christine actually had, her grandmother passed away, and so I've been unable to meet with her to go over the numbers. We felt that we were about 20 people down from last year. I think that was the number we were getting on the scene, which is pretty good, because the first year is usually your big breakout year. So it went well, great turnout, really warm day, but again, thank you to Christine and everyone. Curriculum instruction and assessment, we do have, the Department of Education has released the results for the 2019 testing, and Burgess met and exceeded nearly all targets. Very happy to say more information will be shared with you at the November school committee meeting, as we typically do. Jody Barassa, the assistant superintendent, will be here to present, and parent reports will be sent home. I did leave that sort of open because at the time we didn't have them, so they will be sent home within the next week. First round of Project Lead the Way units are wrapping up. Feedback from the students, parents, and staff has been overwhelmingly positive, and I'm going to follow up a little bit more with a question that came up at the last meeting when I done with the report. And just really sort of interesting, and I need to give all the credit to our town clerk, Lynn Gerard. She has proposed a voting day here at Burgess on the 18th, where the students, sixth grade students are going to coordinate the event with Lynn, and they are going to vote on the color and the shape of the dog tags for the Sturbridge dogs. So very, very
That's
cute.
so cool.
And whatever they decide is what we'll do. So just a nice opportunity for the children to observe the process and to have their voice be heard. So just a very wonderful opportunity. You can peruse the grade level and department updates. Lots of good stuff going on here at Burgess. Health office. The health office staff has been certified in CPR, AED, and Stop the Bleed. All AED boxes and nurses' go bag. The nurses' go bag have been equipped with tourniquet kits. Facilities, there's been a lot of work going on here. They did repair the AED lockbox at the concession stand. That was done recently. Something to be just of note, we did note a stair on the tall structure on the south playground that had rusted and rotted out a few weeks ago. So we did ask Little Tykes to come, because we still are under material warranty, and just inspect everything, and it was determined that there was definitely that step that has failed, which we've roped off the slide. They can use the rest of the structure, they just cannot go all the way to the top. And two other structures have stairs that have indications that they will fail, so they're going to be replaced.
Nice.
Yeah, so just good work on Jeff's part.
Yeah, good job, Jeff. Get it while it's under warranty.
There you go. Any questions? On to Project Lead the Way. At our last meeting, Kristen had asked about health, and so I was somewhat vague in my response, because as you know, Project Lead the Way is new to us. It's taken a lot of effort on the part of the 3 teachers involved to get things up and running. What it does is it maps out as a 10-hour unit, all right? Each category, engineering, biomedical science, and computer science. Each unit is 10 hours long. So we didn't know how it was going to map out and how long it would take them to truly get through 10 hours. So we asked for a little bit of time to figure out what the health timelines would be. So Nadine's health has come out of the special subjects rotation.
Right.
So she's doing her Project Lead the Way units, and then with other time that she has available, she will be delivering the anti-bullying curriculum, the substance abuse curriculum, the puberty curriculum as well. So all of those things will be met, but it will just appear different because she's not in the rotation. So then Kristen had asked more specifically about the, what did the units for health, biomedical science, or engineering look like? So
One for everyone.
one for everyone.
Oh, awesome. Just take a page?
Yep.
Okay.
So these are the units that exist. Not all of these will be taught this year, but these are the, per grade level, this is what we have available to us. The yellow are the engineering, so that's more the enrichment Beth Clark type of curriculum. The biomedical is the health, that's in green, and the computer science is in orange. And there, if you see on the side, it has it
Yeah.
divvied up by grade level. There are more units being developed all the time.
There's no 6 just because.
Right,
there's no-
because there isn't, but we
There
are
isn't, yeah.
delivering a 5th, which you can do to our 6th grade
Oh,
students.
cool.
So they're going to have the robotics and automation with Erin Parker. And they will be here, we had suggested maybe the November school committee meeting. They'll be here at the December, simply because the MCAS presentation will take up a lot
Sure.
of our time in November, and they will be here to present what's going on.
Awesome, thank you so much
Cool.
for this.
Yeah, this is helpful.
I just thought biomedical sounded so like wildly advanced.
I know,
What does
right?
that mean? And you're like, well, it's
Well,
biomedical, like.
well, and the truth was, I didn't know how.
Are you quoting a gerbil in there?
We just didn't know how it was going to map out, like, what
Yeah.
was the true length of a unit? Because by the time the children get there, the time they clean up, we're actually looking at, I think it's 15 days. And it has to be consecutive, because in many cases, they're, you know, creating a project, and they're
Yeah.
assembling things, and they're
Yeah.
making, so they have to see it through fruition, otherwise they have to break it down, and then the
Right.
next group comes. So it has to be that one class coming for an hour for 10 consecutive days, and it's actually mapped out closer to 15 at this point. So we have a greater sense as to what Nadine will have for available time and how she'll plug in the critical health units.
Got it. Thank you, this is very helpful.
Infection detection.
That's the one they're doing, that's 5th grade, right?
Yeah.
That's the one that Nadine's currently doing
I
at
was gonna
grade
say, I
5.
think that I've heard some conversation about
But
this at home, but and then that it had to do with triple E and blah, 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 blah. So, rather timely to be learning about it, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions on Project Lead the Way? We did have a visit yesterday from, so Project Lead the Way is actually done in collaboration with the Mass STEM Hub. And a lot of their granting, like their grant monies come through that mechanism. So we did have a visit from a representative from Mass STEM Hub to come and see. So really proud. The 3 ladies have just sort of taken this on, embraced it, and it's a lot. It's a lot of shifting of what they've done in the past, and you know, they're as excited as the kids are coming out of the lesson. So
That's awesome. All right, anything for Ms. Putnam? Last meeting tonight. Maybe not, maybe I just think, off you go.
I do have a packet to give out, so I'm sorry for this.
It's all good, we're here for a reason.
It is. So my first item here in my report is just an update on the joint retreat, which will be October 19th. And I put draft on it, I think it's 99% there. We met, or spoke with via telephone, the facilitator, Tony Bent, who has actually his profile in the packet, you can see his credentials. So, just gonna take one more look at it and then officially send it out, but this will save me mailing a packet of to you folks, which would be great. If you can make it, that's wonderful. You will be receiving an email either tomorrow, Monday at the latest, asking for an RSVP. And if you know that you can't make it, you can just tell me on the way out, or you know that you can make it, and that would be fine. You can see it's kind of a large agenda, just trying to explain to Tony our configuration of 6 and 1, and that this will be really a full-time, first time we've had 35 people kind of together, making sure that we are indeed rowing in the same direction, and including our elementary committees with a discussion leading up to what are our next steps and how does that relate to what we need to offer students in the K-12 continuum, so that the Tantascwa graduate has not only a common experience but is prepared for college career and has all of those skills. So he did include a few articles in here, so you have a bit of homework. Tries to talk a little bit about the roles of the school committee as well as the teams, the school committee responsibilities, and then looking at as after lunch, looking at where we've been, that's his phrase, not ours, although I do love it, a gentle look back, meaning not judging what was in place before because they're great documents, but how do we make them better and how do we craft them as we move forward. So, again, you'll receive an email, I'm hoping tomorrow, it goes out by RSVP, but if you know tonight, I'm happy to do that, take that information for you. So hopefully you can make it. This certainly won't be the last opportunity, I think, for people to get together if it goes well. Looking at the next steps at the Tantascwa Committee, there was some discussion around when do you bring staff in to be part of this conversation? And I think it was decided after some discussion that let's work on the committees becoming a cohesive unit first and then bring the staff in for their opinion. And I did ask Tony, I said, well, what about students? We have the superintendent advisory group and they would be just a perfect addition to this planning as we go into the spring. And he said, absolutely, student voice is really important. And our strategic plan going back to 10 years, 11 years now, did have student representatives. So starting block here for some forward progress, and I'm looking forward to it.
How do you feel about like a very partial attendance? I don't know if it's well, I can talk to you offline, but.
Yeah, I think it's a good
Is
opportunity
it
for
worth
folks
going for the
who
meeting?
can come, if
Okay.
it's only part of it. I think that's great. I think anything that you could do, we know it's Saturday, it's the fall, people are super busy. But when this was
Kids and
originally
kids, right?
discussed,
Yeah.
summer was kind of thought to be just really out of the question in hopes of getting people, so.
This isn't at the high school though, is that?
No, it is at this, and you know what, I apologize for that, it's not on here. It's at the
Oh.
Sturbridge Host Hotel, thank
Which
you.
actually
And I'm
doesn't
gonna,
help, okay.
I'm going to add that to,
Okay.
at the Sturbridge Host. So, that was a recommendation as well from MASC,
Yeah,
that to
get
take
out of-
things off campus, kind of do a
Always
retreat
good for
elsewhere
strategic
is
planning.
always good. And, given the size of the group, the host worked well, we'll have, continental light breakfast and then lunch right there, so. I don't know if you have any questions, probably haven't had really a chance to look at it, but you're the first group to receive the hot off the press agenda and documents for that, so, thank you very much.
Ooh, the joint meeting's on a Monday.
It is, this was a request made at the September Fantastic School Committee meeting, that the November meeting be moved due to, I think, some people's schedules. So the Tantascwa School Committee meeting in November will be the 18th, and the joint meeting will be at 6 p.m. that same night, which is kind of unusual, but hopefully will still work out. So wanted to make sure people knew that. The November School Committee meeting, as Mrs. Pelly referenced, will be the presentation of the MCAS data. Burgess did. We are very proud of the results that Burgess received.
Great.
Yes.
Still have areas to work and focus on.
Always.
Definitely,
We always
definitely
do.
want to celebrate the
Success.
the success.
Yeah,
It's a lot of
really,
hard work to
really,
get to this
a
point.
lot of hard work, really nice job on behalf of the staff, and the students worked really hard. So I know you'll be really happy. Unfortunately, I won't be at that meeting. I will be at the school committee conference, at
Right.
the school committee superintendent conference. So I'll have to watch the tape as they gush about how great they did.
When do we think that they go home?
Per Dr. Nozick, they
You
will
already
be
said
home
that,
by
right?
the 9th, so
Of
we have.
October? November.
Yeah,
Oh.
we just received them, and we've got
And we're
pretty-
actually in good shape.
pretty good at the turnaround. We like to give ourselves a week.
Oh, wow.
So the 9th was the date that
But
I.
you'll see them
Probably sooner, a little sooner.
definitely sooner than that.
So, but they did literally arrive, I think, Tuesday from
Wow.
the state, so trying to get those out as soon as possible. And then finally, that bullet right above the November MCAS meeting, the request annually, I think you know this, you have to appoint me to be your voting member to the Southern Worcester County Collaborative.
I would entertain a motion to appoint Dr. Aaron Nozick as voting member to the Southern Worcester County Education Collaborative.
So,
Second? All in favor? Done.
That's why I was like, I'm not making a motion, I mean.
Thank you
You're
very
letting
much.
somebody else can do it.
Thank you. I do have just, it's not really an update, but two things that you'll be hearing about potentially if you follow the news. One is a new piece of legislation called the Student Opportunity Act that is looking to implement all recommendations of the foundation review budget. So it's related to looking to enhance programming for ELL students, try and readjust the Chapter 70 formula to be far more reflective of legitimate costs. Many of those cells in the Chapter 70 formula have not been updated since ed reform, since it was born as a model of funding. So it would have a 7-year rollout. There, it is being warmly supported by the state Senate. It would next go to the House, and then it would go to the governor's office. I went to a meeting on this on Tuesday, and they were talking about this not being a financial bill. This isn't a financial bill. This is sort of embracing technical language related to ed reform. And I asked the presenter, I said, well, how can this really not be called a financial? I understand it happens and it gets to different places as legislation does, but isn't this all going to be linked to revenue? Because how are we going to pay for all of this as a state? And she said, well, right now, these are just recommendations, and it's not really being considered. So in essence, here's the framework, here's the blueprint, here's the commitment. We'll figure out how to pay for it after. So,
Isn't that fun?
That always works.
That's super
We
fun.
do
It's
economics.
vacation, that's good.
so right now, revenue is very good in the state. I have heard nothing regarding whether the governor is in support of this or not as far as the funding goes, but, so you will likely hear, I think actually today maybe was the the Senate Ways and Means public hearing on it. And then we did, 5 of our 6 districts did receive additional rural aid grants. That's another thing you may have heard in the news. Unfortunately, the one district that does not meet the rural aid requirement of a lower population in a larger area is Sturbridge. So, but just if you were wondering, because your friends and neighbors will have received some rural aid. But that's okay. That's okay. That's it. Good. So those are kind of my legislative updates. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Any questions? Public access.
I have something, I don't know if it's public
Steph,
or it
you
might
want?
be old business, so we can pick, I had a question about snow days and about homework, blizzard bags / some what do you wanna call this?
Blizzard bags.
Blizzard
You
bags.
just
I
caught,
like blizzard bags.
But I'm not gonna call it that because it's not that, but
right.
I was talking with a friend of mine in Westboro, and they have this new thing, which sounds amazing. Technically, I don't know how we could pull it off, but they are no longer having snow days in Westboro. They have online homework assignments that are given out on a snow day. And if 80% of the student population completes the assignment, it is not counted as a snow day. So there's group pressure to do your homework, which I think is amazing. And some of the homework, like what she was describing to me, that her daughter's in 2nd grade now, so this would have been 1st grade, that she was given it was almost like a STEM assignment to do something with snow, or go look at the snowflakes, or make a snowball and stack them in a particular shape. And so some perhaps weather-related homework assignments. So I just thought that sounded really
It
neat.
is.
And I would love no snow days, and I think we all enjoyed, well, some of us, I think our kids enjoyed a super long summer of 10 weeks this past summer. Those of us parents are working or probably cursing it and wishing for the 8, but in the interest of the kids, I just thought I'd float it out there to see if there was anything creative like that you've heard of.
I can
always
tell you
been
that
about
I'm actually
connectivity, isn't it always about
fascinated
who
by
can
that,
get-
because I think we have talked about, do we dabble? I have not been a proponent of snow days because I don't think it's a day of instruction, but I certainly understand, hey, if we could get, that would be great.
Yeah.
We actually received guidance from the commissioner and the Department of Ed at the end of the summer that blizzard bags
Right.
would not be accepted.
I saw that, I heard
Yeah,
that.
that's
It was on the
Oh,
news,
really?
actually.
Yes.
I wonder
So,
if this is because it's online or something that there's some.
But if your district that you have kids that don't have computers at home, is the problem is that they have now, you've almost adversely
What are their
affected them that they can't access the
Right.
you know.
So maybe there's.
Do we have lenders? Can we lend, but they don't have, if they don't have Wi-Fi, they can't get.
I'm happy to look
That's
into that
But
and
I
see
thought
if
the
it
blizzard
was.
bag got killed for
It
that.
did. He was adamant, we actually received the memo that said.
I know it's different
In
than
fact,
Razorback.
they
Yeah.
retrospectively said the pilot, the Razorback pilot, well, it wasn't a pilot, he
Right.
just started doing it and it caught on. So that's what he
Right.
referred to it as and said it would not, they would not be acceptable. And it talked about students, either learning disabilities, ELL children who really can't complete the work that day, children who don't have access.
We're
to-
talking 80% here. That's, you know, you need to hit like a B minus on this for participation, which I think is also compelling. Like, I feel like 8 out of 10 kids would do it, and 8 out of 10 kids have Wi-Fi and would do it, and you just ride on the backs of those children and we know. I just thought, for me,
No.
I was like, that's interesting. There must be some criteria about how it's you know, given out and how they collate it, that it passes muster with Department of Ed, but I.
Okay, so it does pass muster? That's a public school? Public, Westboro
yes.
Public, not
I
like the
think
base school?
right,
I'll
right,
do a little, I will reach out to Westboro and see if this was a model put in prior to the guidance from the commissioner, or if it's something new. And a lot of those issues are, what was raised around, can people just make up, can a district independently make up? Now, I'd argue a district independently crafts their own instructional day anyways, I mean, there's no, we
Right.
just have standards to follow, but, and
Right.
rules around time and learning and hours, but what it
Yeah.
looks like in Burgess is very different than what it might look like.
And they
in
actually
Westboro.
had an interesting experience last year. They were behind, they started school way late. They had some construction or
That's
something
probably
was
building.
going on.
Yep.
So they got out at the very end of June. And so I think on the heels of that, this is
Sure.
where this was born. But
Yes.
I believe that I have my facts straight on how it's being administered. And I
Okay.
think it's.
They're still in play in New Hampshire. I have friends in New Hampshire.
Oh,
Live Free or
yeah.
Die State.
I was gonna
They
say,
have
they're not
those.
Massachusetts, right?
You don't even need car insurance.
This is so true. We don't live there, Kate.
We don't.
I'm fully aware, but yeah, no, that's an interesting concept.
It is.
I
I
would
will
just be
reach
concerned
out to the
about.
superintendent and ask whether, again, what the timing of this was and if they floated it through the Department of Ed before they will.
It'll probably get shut down.
I know. Just keep this. Just do you have a friendly relationship with them there?
I do, she's a lovely lady. Yes, I will reach out to her. and I will
Just on the
Just go down
friendly
here
DL, let's just see if this is real.
Yeah, well,
I would be really
I'm gonna email the
curious.
commissioner. You know what Westro's doing? Yeah. How come we can't? No, just kidding. Just kidding. But I'll look into that for
Thank
sure.
you.
Do we know what percentage of our, didn't we survey this? Do we know what percentage of our population has access to
We've
electronics?
done those surveys in the past.
And as I
a good
recall, it's
amount.
pretty high,
It is.
right?
It is. It is.
Well, that's just it. It's like, if you're gonna say that, I mean, there's homework that you are expected to do online. That, why is it different? You know,
Well, it's
other
about
than the fact you
ins-
can't go to the library on a snow day or something like that, but once you hit the junior high school, I mean,
Yeah.
you've got stuff that you're
Yeah.
expected, and I don't see a heck of a lot of kids without devices.
It's more about, it's not just access, but
I
it's
understand,
more
especially
about
like the IEPs. and-
defining instruction
Right.
and is this instruction or is this just, you know, work that we can count, so, yeah. So I'll find out for sure.
Oh my gosh, I really loved the summer, I gotta say. And think about those snow days, like I'm typically not home on a snow day, I don't have that luxury, but, the days that I have been home on snow days, I would love to say, hey, you need to finish your, you gotta still do your work.
Right, you have
Get in
something
the other
to
room,
do.
stop bugging
You've
me
got
and go
5
do
pages
this.
of fun.
Especially like when you have 3 and 4 snow days or like a weather event that's just, that would be great.
I
Cross this with that.
I don't
No.
have snow days at all. They're terrible for
Love
me.
that
So-
Oh, I know.
decision.
Selfishly,
I know,
you know, it's
because
the
you don't
worst.
sleep
It's
for
the worst.
days on end.
I'm already not sleeping, see, I'm already worried about
You're
it.
already worried about it.
Sort of a nightmare tonight.
Yeah,
I will.
I think that's a fantastic idea.
But I will absolutely reach out and just see if they're still doing it.
Do we have, oh, of course we have a report from the Tantascwa.
Yeah, we did.
We have that meeting. Because I think
We
in
did.
September we didn't, right? No.
No, we haven't had one yet. The student rep, actually, they talked about a couple things I thought were really cool. They did a senior sunrise this year, and they want to do a sunset. All the seniors went and watched the sunrise before the start of the school year, and I think what they're going to try and do is, at the end of the year, everybody gather together and watch it set, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
The student counselor did doing stuff with the junior high, like, they went over and did a
Oh, I love that.
high five Friday. And they were recognized as a unified championship school by the Special Olympics because of how much they have contributed over the years. Let's see what else. Through the AG's office, they had a violence prevention and mental health program, which was that all in the same week? There's programs. There's one called Start with Hello, and Say Something is another one. Signs of Suicide is another. Save Promise, which was between the Mass Attorney Generals and the Sandy Hook Promise, and I don't know. I know they had a big week last
We
week. Was
did.
it all in one week?
There's
or
a
is
net,
it
no,
spread
it's
out?
gonna be spread out, and we actually committed to doing training on a larger scale Start with Hello in December by working with
Okay.
the Sandy Hook Promise, but last week was National Start with Hello Week, so
Okay, I
did
gotcha.
do, yeah,
Alright.
it was a little confusing, because of the timing of it. So the middle school did do some, Start with Hello activities last week, but they'll do more work in
And
December.
It's all kind of designed to, each of these programs recognize, try and get everyone connected, and feel connected to the school or each other, and I thought it was a really great program.
I liked what they did at lunch with the junior high.
Right.
Mix it up.
Yep.
Did you do that here?
See your face.
Kate, what was that?
The mix it up, like they more or less assign, and you
Different
sit with,
lunch
you do not sit,
You
there's no
choose.
clicks.
Okay.
It's not, you go and you get to know a new friend and you actually have,
Different
They
tables
had
assigned.
topics too
They had
this time.
topics
I think
to
last year they
discuss.
didn't
Yeah.
necessarily have
That's great.
topics.
Yeah.
I-
Yeah.
Jack
they
actually came
added
home
that.
and loved it. He actually had nice things to say, like, he enjoyed meeting some kids that he normally would never have met, and I liked it.
Yeah.
Maybe not at certain grades, but
It's great, yeah.
Yeah.
We did it last year, the middle school last year for the first time, and there weren't topics for discussion
Right.
or
So you just
anything,
sat there
so
quiet
we have a bunch
with
of
the one
different
kid at the
people
table that they
together.
knew.
Exactly.
So I do have topics,
They
okay.
did,
Yeah.
they found it worked better. I think.
Heidi Peterson would probably give you, because she and some other teachers volunteer, I mean, they decorate the tables
Yeah.
with tablecloths. They
Yeah.
really
I
work
need to
hard
stop
to
on
make
this
it a special event, and then teachers will sit at tables, so it's great. It's a nice little way
Is it 7th and 8th, or is it
No,
just?
we have seventh
No.
grade lunch and eighth grade
Yep,
lunch separate,
separate.
so.
I mean,
Yeah.
that is my favorite part of my day, is 6th grade lunch. You all know that.
I actually
We
have
can make
heard
that
that you like
happen.
6th grade lunch.
It's my favorite time of the
It's
day.
actually, sometimes the adults are there and then sometimes, there's no adults at those though. I mean, they were walking
I think
around,
some
right?
volunteered last year, and that's how they got on the topic, because I think some adults were at the table and they kind of facilitated, but
Now
not
they
every
had
table had an adult.
adults, right.
And so I think now this is the evolution of it, and they're adding in, I don't know if there were adults this year at
Yeah,
each table.
students.
They were, if you had lunch, you could just stop in and sit at a table and talk to kids, but there were usually more tables than adults that are able to go, so.
Whatever the topics of conversation were though, they got to know new kids.
Yep.
Whatever the-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yep, absolutely. Other than that, subcommittee, we divided into those. I am again on bylaw and policy and
Yes.
curriculum. I love bylaw and policy, actually.
Bylaw Bill still there?
Pardon?
Is he still on?
Yeah, no,
Who? No. He's off.
that's a good one, too. Yep, we graduated last year, retired.
Learned a lot from him.
Yeah.
Okay. Is your report complete?
My report is complete. You are not.
Okay, we have old business. We have policy GDI, support staff probation, and this is second reading to rescind. Recall last month, rescinded upon first reading. I feel like a rescind is like, it's either rescinded or it isn't. How can you rescind upon? But, okay, I would entertain the motion to rescind policy GDI.
So moved.
And second.
Second.
Any discussion? You guys are funny down there. All in favor?
We are really rescinding this.
Yeah. I think by the definition of the word, it's consideration to rescind and then rescinded, like it's, I feel like it's really gonna bother me, but anyway, it's rescinded again. Yay, I can't, all right, grade 6, old business, pilot report, pilot update.
Do I have one?
Yeah, you should. So this is a parent letter draft, drafted by our sixth grade team, so Mr. Jones at any time feel like you can weigh in. In essence, what it says is that we're gonna hit 2 points. We're going to hit Jupiter grades, and then we're going to hit report card averages. So what the pilot will include is for T1, teachers are going to become familiar with Jupiter grades. The junior high sent down 2 representatives, and they did a wonderful job in sort of encouraging our sixth grade teachers and explaining the features of Jupiter grades. For T2, they are proposing that parents will have, so students will be given Jupiter grade accounts at the beginning of T2. Parents will have access to missing and late assignments, okay? Report cards, in the homework completion will actually factor in here. For the T1 midterm report, they are proposing that there will be a homework completion average. So that's not the report card, that's something you'll be getting soon, where, 80% completion of homework will be included on the T1 midterm report. The T1 report card in the narrative will include a homework completion average and an assessment average where appropriate. So as we discussed at the last meeting, math lends itself to having averages and things like that, whereas ELA is a little bit trickier. So, if we'd say that math, science, and social studies, you definitely have an assessment average there. It might look a little bit different for what they're reporting out to you in the narrative part of the report card for ELA.
Okay.
Okay?
So, the STAR report or something.
Okay, so the STAR report's a separate topic.
Okay.
So we talked about the parent receiving the STAR report, and I do remember that we discussed the fact that we were having a leadership, or actually a school-wide training on STAR. We did have that training and have found that, we may want to look at types of accommodations and things that we're providing for the STAR assessment, thereby making the beginning of the year STAR data maybe not as accurate as we would like. And I did meet with Karen today and sort of went over a few things, and I think you agree, it would be hard at this point to sort of say. So we have leadership next week. The principals will be talking about what the next steps are, and then I can inform you on the November meeting.
Is every teacher
In sixth grade.
doing the same thing, like for the grading in the, so it's like, it's not like, if Kate, Tess has a math teacher and they give the grade and mine doesn't, like, they're all across the board gonna do it?
Right. The only thing that might be different is the ELA averages, right?
Or,
Yeah, we're still.
Sure,
figuring
I
that
just
out.
meant like
No.
all math,
All
not
six,
like
all sixth
teachers
grade,
here
yes.
and there.
So what we're saying is,
Okay.
yeah, for
Great.
across the board. Yeah.
and then homework philosophy might vary by teacher, but the completion of the
Completion
average
is a
is a
completion,
completion.
exactly.
Well, and they
Got it.
also did indicate, they just don't want it to be misunderstood, that the homework
It's not
completion
part of their
average is
grade
not
anyway.
part of like
Yeah.
the grading on their standards. It's not
No.
gonna be reflected,
Right.
Yeah.
But you'll know based on.
Mom or dad will know, if it's 50%,
So
right,
it's-
there's
It
not.
is in junior high and high
Homework's
school.
not part of the grade? Homework's
No.
not-
It's indirectly though, I mean, if they're doing their homework, they're gonna be better prepared for the,
So your child could do
Evaluate.
no homework
It
and
would
it
be
does not affect their grade?
It would be reflected in their narrative, or in habits of mind and things like that.
Seems to me. And then, I still don't understand, is this Jupiter thing, is this A, B, C, D?
No, it's numeric.
So I thought we were going, wasn't this to get us to A, B, C's? Is that what it's?
Well, the
junior high
numeric is still, it's not like a 1, 2, 3, it's like an 89.
Yeah.
It's
It's
numeric
an
that
average.
relates
It's
to
an
the,
average. It's
above the letter.
average, yeah.
Yes.
It's the numeric equivalent of letter grades.
Okay.
So an A
Yeah.
being between 90 and.
So you'll see 85% or eight, yeah, it'll resonate, not like a 1, 2, or a 3, or a 4.
So it's more
Yeah.
informative, but it's still, it's never gonna be A, B, C, D.
Well, you could
Well,
just
there will
translate
be.
it, and that's how it is in the junior high and
When
high
you
school.
go to the junior high or the high, if there's an A, it would have a range from 90, very traditional,
Does it-
really not at all
So are
different.
these averages going to correlate directly to that particular scale? Because I don't know I'm sure most people don't know off the top of their head what the scale is. Like, is there a scale that's is there an even, can you get an A
A
plus?
minus,
Is there
yeah.
an A minus? And so there's 3 or 4 points that are
Right.
that
Yeah,
letter.
so an A would be between a 90 and 100, and,
Or-
an A would be, yeah, a
A
93
minus
to
is
a
90 to
97,
92.
right, yeah.
Right, and then 93 to 96, 93 to 97 is the straight, and then the plus
Yeah.
would be 7, or 8, 9,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
But I don't know that
It
we're gonna
cor-
get down to
yeah.
that number, I
And-
think it
But
might
is
be
there a
an
key
A's.
somewhere that someone can know, that people that want that letter, that they can do the
Should
translation?
probably include a key.
We
Yep.
just,
Yep.
It'll, well, see, it's easier
We'd
for
have
me
to do
and
it.
Mary, or us,
Yeah,
because
we're-
we've already had Jupiter grades, so
Right,
it-
right.
it'll
Just be in the
feel a
letter.
lot more,
yeah,
like
So
it
we'll-
correlates a lot
Right.
more to traditional.
we'll include it in the letter.
Okay.
That way there you'll have it.
And so it sounds like, so trimester 1, there's a midterm, so that must be coming up soon. There's going to be similar information that's coming in this online system, but it'll be just in the write-up on the report card?
So the teachers will be working through utilizing the Jupiter grades for trimester 1, the entire trimester up until the report card's December, first week of December.
Okay.
The midterm report for this trimester, which is only a few weeks away, will include a homework completion average. So sort of getting everybody in the idea
Warmed
of
up for what you're going to
exactly.
see.
And then once T2 starts, Jupiter grades will be opened up to parents with the expectation that we're going to have missing and late assignments will be included in there. And that's the beginning.
One thing I will say, even though homework here doesn't affect their grade, every teacher is very different at the junior high. As soon as you go there, in the high school, there's like it's like a college, like a syllabus, and homework can
Doesn't matter,
equal
in this household,
20%.
homework matters. So
Well,
there's
no, no, no.
like, I've never
But
not
what I'm
let
saying,
homework go.
my
Like,
point in
that's
bringing it up
crazy,
is that it's a really, it's great for them to start seeing their completion rate, because while it might not matter here, it does actually, it can be, it can make up a certain percentage of your grade going forward.
Yeah. I think it should.
You see that red bar in Jupiter grade?
Oh,
The
God.
kids like, oh.
Yeah.
It's the red bar.
Well,
It's the
you
red bar
get-
means they missed, like, a missing assignment.
If you, if they're missing it, it's shaded in red.
How much it
You're gonna love it,
helps or
Kristen.
hurts.
Yeah.
It either is like a little green or huge green or,
Yes.
Kristen's gonna be like,
You just kind of
she's
scroll
gonna
love it
erase
for
this,
red
and on the
or
next thing
green.
you know, she's gonna be like the parent liaison. Do you know how to use Jupiter Grade? Talk to Kristen,
God,
Dewey.
I just can't, this is
You'll
mind
love
blowing
it.
to me that homework doesn't count right now, like, that should not be on the
It
table.
does,
I don't want
it
anyone at home
does, it
thinking,
does, it absolutely counts.
Counts, but it's just
But
not
just towards your
part
grade, I
of the grade. I mean, some people argue it's just, you have no control over homework, someone else can help you do it. So if it's purely a bring it on in and
Someone told
check.
you to do something, you
the
do it,
box.
it's like a life skill that you.
But parent input and parent support for certain children is
Very
different.
different.
It's very different. And-
Sure.
And so wanting, to, just getting them accustomed to doing the homework, we do hold them very accountable. The teachers are
Yeah.
looking for if they're communicating with parents. This will help make the communication a little bit more
Yeah.
seamless. But homework absolutely counts. But keeping in mind, homework looks different. So there's, this whole flipped classroom where oftentimes the homework is simply watching a YouTube video about ancient
Yeah,
Egypt
yeah.
or something like
Yeah.
that. And then they come in and they're working within the classroom with it. So how do you grade that? How do I, how do you, so they're accountable for it, but it's not actually factored into
Yeah.
their grade.
Yeah.
Awesome,
Any questions?
thank you.
No, thank you. Thank Michael.
Thank
And
you.
his team.
Thank you. How do you like Jupiter grades? If you don't mind me just asking you point blank.
It's so new that I can't really, it wouldn't be fair to make a pass any
Yeah.
judgment on it, and I can't speak for my team, so we're just really just
Just
checking
starting
out the
it.
features, figuring out what's best for our students, so down the line I might be able to give you some input, but it's too early.
So the funny thing is that not everybody's on Jupyter grades though, beyond, right? Some are on Google Classroom. The high school is more oriented to Google Classroom, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen you.
We've
for high
never,
school.
I
we've
haven't
never
at all.
required.
No, I
Jupyter
know.
grades, so,
So
yeah.
to rock your world even more, this is a start, and then by the,
Some will participate junior high and some won't.
and you can have,
Some put grades in some
you can
don't.
be a freshman and have, or you can be a Sevi and have 2 teachers on Jupyter grade and 1 on Google Classroom, and so you have to learn a lot of
Why haven't
these.
they all come together and picked?
They all have different styles of like, it's like having an iPhone versus a Droid. It's like they
So
have,
there are different features within these?
yeah,
It's not-
there really are, yeah.
But it's not a grading philosophy, it's just a tool to communicate a grade, is that correct?
That is correct,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
So it's a tool to, like, wouldn't you think there should just be like an edict that says we are going with this tool, like that is what you will use? It's just a mechanism to communicate, it's not your philosophy, you could still be different in how you grade or what you count is important in your grading, but here's the one tool we're all gonna use to make everyone's life easier? Is there been a
But
request
having
for
one
that?
tool that everybody use, as Kate said, some teachers feel more comfortable with a different tool, there's
Yeah.
something they like, some parents like a different tool.
You get report cards one way,
Yeah.
but, and it's,
Right.
and you get used to it, like Google Classroom, funny enough, like you have activities in Google Classroom, right? Isn't that where Ski Club, you get notifications for Ski Club and whatever?
Yep.
Like Pages Club Lacrosse is in Google Classroom, and then I can go and look at our, like different things. I think you just get used to it, it's almost like just like a different calendar or a different app. They're just different apps.
Does the school, is there a cost associated
For
with these
Jupyter, there
tools?
is. For Jupyter, there is, yeah. For Google Classroom, there is.
It's the whole platform, it's part of the whole G Suite that we
Right.
use, so.
How, can I ask how expensive is this Jupyter?
It's not very expensive.
No, it is.
Or is it like an enterprise license that you just like, or an annual
It's an annual
It's-
subscription.
with a number of people that can obviously.
Yep. And it actually started at the middle school a number of years ago with teachers who paid themselves the cost and said, we think this will help.
Up until the end.
And then it organically became what really everybody uses. But I can tell you, my son's school used a different platform, Power School, and the information that a parent sees is only as good as the information that people put in. So you
Right.
have somebody who does one assessment the entire trimester,
Yeah, that's not true with anything.
so, right, exactly, so.
Especially where it's not the system of record, it's not what's generating the report cards, which is why I don't understand, this is a person in like private sector asking like, why isn't there one tool that you put all the grades and the assignments and everything that is accessible for parents to see, that generates report cards, that is one-stop
Our
shop
student
for-
information system that we use, iPass, does not have really a very successful iParent, the parent portal. We have experimented, we have done our own internal pilots. It's kind of a clunky,
Some of us have had experience elsewhere with it, and it's a very difficult tool to work on many levels.
So that's what you use to generate the report cards?
yes,
And
and,
we're married to that, or?
well, it would require an entire shift
Uh-huh.
to our student information system, which is why we're trying to backfill with things like Jupyter grades. We're
Yeah.
trying to give information and not have it be a full-scale changeover of our
Right.
student information
Just a
system.
portal to see some stuff, but
Just
the,
to help.
the machine behind is still the
Ex-
clunky.
Yes, exactly.
They're all,
Yeah.
they all have,
Have-
all
And you
of
know
the
what?
student information systems have their pros and cons, and
I'm kind of, just as a parent that's like had both, you kind of get used to it. It's almost like Jupyter is has the very much like objective, like you can just look at average, boom, this is the exact, and it's a little bit more just like rote. I don't know how to describe it. It's very factual, but like Google Classroom, you can go in and you can see a PDF of the actual assignment and how the project is going to be graded, et cetera, and it's like, I think they all have strengths and
Do you
weaknesses.
feel like Google Classrooms for the parents?
Right, I've never gone on
I've
it.
never gone on it, not once.
Oh, I have.
here is the opportunity.
But I
There is
did,
the
like,
option.
there's no
There is the
grades
option.
on there, right?
No,
So
it's the
what's-
classroom, like you can see what to do.
But I don't have to do anything.
No.
High school.
Right.
But like, what's ski club on? Is that Jupiter?
Remind?
No, that would.
That's on
be
Remind, see,
Remind.
that's another one.
Remind is
Yeah,
just
you're
a
gonna go,
communicator.
we're gonna
It's
actually
like-
send
Remind
Kristen
is
off
a
the deep end.
communicator only.
That's just a
IT
communicator.
overhaul.
She's in IT, so she is gonna lose her mind, but.
Just one answer. Do you think it's expensive? Is it cost prohibitive? Is that why we
Yeah.
looked at it, or it's just
To-
like
to
we
change
super
student
dump enough
information
things onto
systems
this?
or Jupiter?
Just a-
One
just-
amazing thing that does everything.
Yeah.
I don't think there isn't one. We should just sit down and
Invent it.
write what we need.
We should do it. Let's
It
do
would be very expensive and extremely time-consuming in the
Education
HR
core systems
training
are not
to
like-
change student information
Yeah.
systems. Now, might that happen in the future someday?
Wouldn't you think it would just be like a service, like software as a service, like a cloud-based app that everyone's,
You would
and then
think.
Yeah.
doesn't
You
the
would
math
think.
department want to know everything about everybody anyways, and then
They
it's
do,
all
and they allow multiple, no, IPASS is one they're not gonna give you one
They don't.
private no. There are certain ones that capture all of the student information system required elements, you're absolutely right, all that,
Yeah.
the Department of Ed captures, but there's not one, there are multiple that support the DESI requirements, because the department is just, the mass public education system is not gonna recommend one private vendor, I don't believe that they're going to.
That's
So they-
Unless they come up with.
Unless they, right, exactly, maybe if there's something, but.
Unless it's an
So there are
unfunded
probably,
mandate.
there are 4 or 5,
Yeah,
some
exactly.
systems create their own, Worcester has created their own
Oh,
student
really?
information, yeah.
But
Because
that's like a full time,
Oh,
let's
yeah.
not forget the
Totally,
cost,
it's a-
that's like a,
No, I
yeah.
know, yeah.
Well, Kristen
Yeah.
Nicholas in that group.
Right.
So,
Okay.
so
It's
we have
not-
different options.
I
Sorry
think
for the
it's,
rat hole, but
no,
this is
no,
all
no,
very
it's actually,
fascinating to
no.
me that.
I think it's one of those things though, unfortunately, that once you start to experience it, you're like, oh yeah, okay, that's there. And
Yeah.
that,
You just accept it, you're
and
right.
it's like I just had to ask, where's Ski Club in again? You know, it's just like a different app for different
Right.
stuff.
So annoying, but whatever.
It
It
is.
would be
I
great.
didn't
If you
realize
would
that
absolutely
parents,
Great,
sign up.
because they all have it.
Yes.
But if you get a team where they don't, then you just go through with no
the
information.
kids are used to Google Classroom though. Like they all day long use Google, and you guys use it here.
Oh,
You're
I
all
use it
yeah.
multiple times a day.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't realize that parents, I just have it, I don't know.
You have the
Yourself?
Remind.
I log in as
Well, the
myself.
price is right, it'd be nice if that worked for everybody, right? The free.
Yeah, but you know what's interesting is Paige has to have 2 different logins, because she has one for lacrosse that has assignments, mind you, that I pay for. And then she has a school and like a different email account. Yeah. Can't parents have access to Google Classroom? No.
I have no idea. If I
We
have
haven't
access to
done
it.
that yet, but that
Yeah.
there
At
is
the
a,
high
there is
school, I
a feature,
think you
there is a
can.
feature. We haven't turned it on.
So right now, all the kids, 4th grade and up, have their own.
Yeah, they just go right in and see their stuff, like it's.
And they submit their assignments, so the teachers
That I
are
knew
not
about,
using
because we've had some
paper.
frantic moments where
Mhm.
the kid.
What I love about that is like the teacher can see, I'm like, Paige, you're you know, they see that you're doing this on Sunday night at 11:59 when it's due. It's like, you do know that they see it, they can, right? They can see
Yeah,
what it's.
and the Google
Which one?
Classroom does
Google
allow
Classroom.
to loop back to the blizzard bags, because I know that kids, even on a snow day, if there is an assignment that day for like AP Bio, they're doing it on the Google Classroom and
Yeah.
submitting their work that day, because they have, the curriculum
Because
is
they
so
can.
rigorous.
Last year I had a group
Yep.
come home after homecoming to submit an English assignment. Like, granted, they could have submitted it well before the homecoming dance, but
It's
you know.
more fun after.
Right, no joke.
Like, would you describe like a Google Classroom assignment, either in ELA or social studies?
Yeah, so I can only describe how I use it, but I use it multiple times a day. If we're doing vocab, I might have the link for Quizlet.
Yeah.
So they just, takes 2 seconds, they log in, they go right to their stream. There it is, there's the Quizlet, they click on it, there's the link. I'll put documents up, if I type up a sheet they're going to do, it'll be right, in their stream, they click on the assignment, my directions are right there, the PDF files are right there. So it's just a way to put all the materials in one easy place, and by, the 3rd or 4th time using it, they don't have to think about it anymore, it's just they know where everything is, they're better than I am, so they know where everything is, and I can put announcements up, reminders, I use all these things, I use Remind if you have questions about that as well.
Okay.
But it's definitely it's very convenient.
Yeah.
They can share things, and it's a really good platform.
As this is year two, truly year two, it's actually year three, but our true
Yeah.
year two with Classroom, are you feeling that the children that are in front of you this year have greater competency than the students that you've had in the past, last year?
Yeah, these kids came in already having most knowledge of most of the things I need them to do. So I assume every year it'll be a little more and more.
Yeah.
And as you know, we've been pushing Erin Parker at the beginning of the year, pushing her into the classrooms, and she's doing units. I think you guys get skipped because you're
We've had her in our classroom twice.
but I think she did fourth grade a
One.
few more times than that. But
Yeah.
just to make sure that the students and the teachers are all comfortable and ready to get going for the new year. So as we go on, it will be a much greater utilized tool.
You know, the kids' mind lose sheets, like lose a study guide, or lose the
Yeah.
syllabus from the very, it's just,
Yeah.
you just go back. It's like, you don't lose the paper anymore. You don't lose the paper anymore. I mean, I can remember a time when they're like taking pictures of somebody else's paper to try and do the homework. It's just there. It is
Well,
really
yeah,
awesome.
this year. So, but at this grade level, or fifth and sixth, they're doing things in the classroom. I saw a sheet with a login, but there's no expectation for anyone to be doing anything remotely from home in Google Classrooms.
I mean, I
Or
don't
does
send.
that depend by?
You could if you wanted. You can create the homework assignment, and they're supposed to do it at home, and they just access it through the home. Because you can create quizzes on there.
Right.
You can do all kinds of things. You
Is
have to.
anyone doing that though?
And if they know that the child doesn't have technology within their home, then they're sent to a
That's the
hard
one
copy.
thing we can't count on, especially fifth and sixth grade. Elementary
it's
school, you
not.
just don't know if they have
So that, like,
technology.
giving me a sheet with my son's login information is just like, like, fun, okay, that's cool, but like,
Well, they
he's
can't.
not expected to do
Quiz
Well,
it.
like
assignments
IXL,
or-
don't your kids go into
Yeah, we do
IXL
IXL
and
or
they
quiz
go to some of it, like it's there if they can, no?
I don't know.
See, no, that's
Those are
another.
the papers that I lose. Like, where's that thing? It's logged, I don't know.
Yeah. And it's,
You know,
I
I'm
would
gonna have
say
a-
my kids go on technology and do it might not be homework, but it might just be, like Liza is all about the IXL. I don't know if they get tickets or something for it, there's gotta be some bribery involved.
I'll work on a technology info sheet for families, so that I'll work with Erin Parker about what is available, what can you do at home, what do they, what types of skills do they work on and things like that. And we'll get that ready for you.
Yeah, that would be good. Like
I
a-
feel like at the high school and the junior high, the Quizlets are huge. That's their
Quizlets are
homework. They
awesome.
have to do Quizlets, so they are, and they're doing it here. Like what I can't stand, and I know we're going over, but is where I see people writing papers on their phone. Like they're literally,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can submit.
Patty McGrath.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I don't
My
need a
kid.
computer.
I'm like, no,
Yes.
you need to sit down and type. No, I don't. Look at this, and I'll look at it. Okay, I can't type like that, but you can. It's the way of the world, right? Like, just consider submitting your college essays on your phone.
Right.
Oh, they'll be just.
I know, right? But some of them are perfect.
I said, what are you doing? I'm submitting my
Yeah.
fourth question to Boston College.
Exactly.
On your
On your
phone.
phones. In the back seat of the car. I feel like you should be sitting with a green lamp.
Is that a good idea?
Well, you know, for some kids it's a lot better because mine, penmanship, you wouldn't be able to read it. So if you know it, go for it. All right, where are we? Are we at new business public
I have
access?
just one quick question, old business, public access. Were there any interest letters for the Tantasco School Committee?
There was one submitted, and the joint appointment meeting between the Tantasco Sturbridge reps and the Board of Selectmen is Monday, October 7th
Oh,
at
good.
6:30 PM.
Great, thank you.
But planning for the town. Should be brief, I think the Board of Selectmen have put it as the first, item of business. So we
Great.
should have someone. But last time we had people too, and
Yes.
it was that afternoon,
Oh,
they resigned,
Didn't show up.
Oh,
the
right.
first go
Yes,
around.
yeah.
So, but we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, it was-
Thank
All right,
you.
great.
And motion to adjourn, is that it? I just said public access number 2, no? I thought I did.
Sorry.
Public access 3?
No, that's it. Michael?
We have abused him tonight.
I know, I
feel.
said I
Poor
just-
guy.
I know.
Sorry.
He's been very
Thank you,
helpful.
Mr.
Yes,
Chairman.
thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
very much.
How's your concussion?
I'm pretty much back, but
Okay.
soccer is done for
A while.
probably a year.
Oh.
Thank you for asking.
I'm glad you're feeling better.
Thank you.
All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We're out of here. So the next time you see me, I will have
Thank you.
taken my